And I've been doing this ever since I've taught yoga teacher training, because it seemed a bit more of an efficient way to talk about postures and techniques. You know, what are the principles that work across all the variety of asana and maybe outside of asana? So I started looking at it from that way. And I do have 11 years experience as a personal trainer, so I'm aware of how to organize the body when it's heavily loaded. Okay, so those principles, of course, see, in yoga, we're not picking up weights or whatever, but we actually load really, really, really heavily, don't we? In something like Chaturanga to upward facing dog, or in some of the arm balances. Like, those are heavily loaded positions. And there's almost a kind of way of people just like, oh, well, yeah, do Chaturanga, up dog, but if people haven't been doing some kind of fairly heavy loading for their shoulders, they won't be prepared to do something like that. We don't have a rich movement life, So if we were chopping wood and hauling water and climbing trees and doing a lot of lifting and hauling and carrying and climbing, we would figure that out as children. But when you get an adult and you're trying to teach them Chaturanga, they don't know how to do it. And they're not naturally going to arrive at a way to do that. They'll find a way to do it. They'll get it done. But it could be potentially injurious to the shoulders because they're not used to loading, and they may not arrive at a good solution for doing that. And then they quickly develop a habit that really irritates the joints and the tissues around the joints. So that's why the skillful movement concept is so important, because we're talking about principles and best practices. This is kind of what I called it, but those are just ways of moving that are efficient. They're more comfortable for the joint. You can access your strength so much better, and they feel better. And it applies across all movement too. So, you're going to dial the hands away from each other if you're bench pressing or if you're doing Chaturanga. It's the same. If you're doing an arm balance, you're going to dial the hands away from each other. That automatically tucks your elbows in. So it almost eliminates the need for a whole bunch of other cues, because it's the activation that is helping you organize the body in a secure, stable way. And there's nothing rigid about it, because you can still move, but you're just keeping the joint in a congruent position throughout the movement. Moving in efficient patterns, good activation patterns, is less fatiguing, less costly energy-wise for the body, less potential for injury, and it feels better.